Ford have had a very busy year. They've just launched the new Everest and the new Ranger, and somewhere on the horizon is their new Mustang. As well as that, there's an updated Focus ST, and the Focus range itself is doing particularly well sales-wise. And they've also introduced a brand new model to South Africa. It's called the B-Max. This is what Ford calls its compact multi-activity vehicle, the kind of car that could be asked to fill a few different roles, and at one stage of motor vehicle evolution was also known as an MPV, or still might be depending on which manufacturer or website you ask. The B-Max is a brand new car, but it has inherited some very good genes. The platform has been borrowed from the Fiesta, which should automatically give this car the basis for a good drive. The engine is Ford's 1-litre EcoBoost, which has proven itself phenomenal not only in its ability to win multiple Engine of the Year awards, but also to be brilliant in whatever car Ford puts it into. And then there's the luxury spec, which comes from higher up the Ford food chain. The B-Max lineup is pretty straightforward for now. One engine option with an output of either 74 or 92 kilowatts matched to a 5-speed manual gearbox. 3 spec levels, with our titanium test car being the top of the bunch. No matter which of the 3 you go for though, they all share a particular thing in common, which Ford are very proud of. And this is it. No B-pillar means a 1.5 meter wide hole in the side of your car, which obviously makes getting in and out a little bit easier, but it's particularly useful on the passenger side, where you can fold the front seat flat, which makes loading relatively large items in a small car very easy. On a day-to-day basis, it's probably more of a gimmick than anything else. It does make getting into and out of the car easier, but it's not exactly going to change the way cars are made in the future. Now, you might be thinking that without the extra pillar in the middle, this little B-Max might not be quite as secure in an accident, but there has been a lot of clever engineering to ensure that it's at least as safe as anything else in its class. Once you've closed up the doors and you're on the move, this top-spec titanium B-Max has a lot to offer when it comes to comfort and convenience. Keyless operation, heated seats are just 2 of the very nice things that 272,000 Rand will buy you. Unfortunately, it also buys you this old-school Ford center stack, which was pretty awful when it first came out, and now it's definitely way past its sell-by date. Of all the things this car shouldn't have inherited from its siblings, this layout is top of the list. While it's fairly straightforward to operate, it just looks like a mess and doesn't match the rest of the interior with its good materials and finishes. A split boot floor is always a nice touch, but at 300 litres, its capacity is a little smaller than the rest. With the seats folded down though, that turns into a useful 1300 litres. All in all, space in the little Ford is about on par with the competition. If you're struggling to think what the competition for this car is, that's not really surprising because there isn't much. And if you want something specifically with rear sliding doors, that choice becomes even narrower. Space-wise and price-wise, about the closest you get is Fiat's 500L. Or you could save yourself 50 grand and opt for the Fiat Cubo. Although what you save in cash you'll pay back in misery, because while the Cubo is incredibly practical, it's not very nice to drive or to look at. And as far as driving enjoyment goes, the Ford, much like its Fiesta cousin, has the competition beaten. The EcoBoost motor just isn't as enjoyable in this car because it doesn't feel as punchy. It's still fairly flexible and it still is the best thing in its class. And given what's underneath this car, unsurprisingly, so is the drive. The Fiesta platform gives the B-Max good handling and agility, even though it'll probably never need to show off in that particular department. The ride setup is just right, steering feedback is good, the gearbox is a pleasure. It's a very well sorted little car with a kind of involvement that's pleasantly surprising. The Ford B-Max is the latest arrival in its class, but that doesn't automatically mean it's the best. That said though, it is difficult to argue against what it's offering. It's got comfort, convenience and a better drive than you might expect in the category, all for the right amount of money. So it may be little, but it does offer a lot of car. Ford's 1-litre EcoBoost motor puts out 92 kilowatts and 170 newton meters, and while it doesn't feel as good as it does in other Fords, it's still a good drive. The 5-speed manual is the only gearbox option. It might be the smallest in its class, but it offers the most in terms of tech, convenience and driving enjoyment. The only thing it suffers from is a center console that's in desperate need of a redesign.